Decoding Rumi's Masnavi by Pirjan. How an Amir harassed a sleeping man. Today we will deal with the subject of the self. As we have considered self in mystical terms, this may be one of the most sophisticated mystical terms. According to Rumi, we have confused self with a stranger who has settled inside of us. We have an illusion and assume this stranger is our nature. The identity that exists in all human beings is a phenomenon derived from the social and family environment. At birth, we do not know anything about this identity, and we learn it later. Different societies have different cultures, and given their identities to these members. Good and evil depend on conditions, and as conditions change, good and evil change as well. Hence, none of them are natural and real. When a child beats another child, the battered child is naturally in pain, but the parent's question to the child is why they are beaten and call them slouchy. It is the beginning of an identity for the child as slouchy. On the other hand, the parents of the bullying child encourage them to be aggressive. Children learn to be like this, and it is the beginning of the phenomenon called self. Identity is something depending on others in society. Society gives its members a distinct identity based on social contracts, but social identity is never human nature. Humans acquire personality and social identity based on their acquired values. That is, the more social values are acquired, the higher the status. In societies and throughout history, all of these scales change according to social conditions and are never constant. Today, bravery on the battlefield is no longer a virtue, and today's values have changed, although it was a main virtue some 500 years ago. The values of a capitalist society mean that more money or degrees lead to more social value. There is no limit to the self's appetite because there's always more money or degrees. The self is an external entity that has nothing to do with human nature, and the ruling systems impose their kind of values and codes along with their identity. The values and anti-values of society can never be avoided, and people always repeat and accept them. The self is something that society nurtures in individuals and develops identities out of it. We learn what to do or to respect others on the basis of their social status to prove that we are not slouchy. We learn to conceal some things and express the others. The Masnavi refers to the self as the only agent of all diseases and the love as the agent of healing. In Masnavi, love is a widespread theme, but the self is insatiable, and without the knowledge of identity, it is just a consumer. The self always begs, but sometimes it does not know what it begs. This begging is its nature. In the present story, Rumi tries to convey a message in symbolic language. The snake is the self that has gone from the outside into the human. Religions, schools, customs, and traditions belong to the society and are contractual. They are external and not related to human nature. Mysticism holds that in childhood, there is a kind of innocence in humans that disappears in adulthood. The snake symbolizes the things that enter the human being from the outside. How an Amir harassed a sleeping man into whose mouth a snake had gone. A wise man was riding along at the moment when a snake was going into his mouth of the man asleep. A wise man was riding along when a snake was going into the mouth of a man asleep. The rider saw that and was hurrying to scare away the snake, but he had got no chance of doing so. Since he had an abundant supply of intelligence, he struck the sleeper several powerful blows with a mace. The strokes of the hard mace drove him in flight from him to beneath a tree. There are many rotten apples which had dropped from the tree. He said, "Eat of those, O you in the grip of pain." He gave the man so many apples to eat that they were falling out of his mouth again. He was crying, "O Amir, pray, why have you set on me? What have I done to you? If you have an inveterate and mortal feud with me, strike with your sword and shed my blood at once. Ill-omened was the hour I came into your sight. Oh, happy he that never saw your face. Without guilt, without sin, without having done anything great or small, even the heretics hold not such oppression allowable. Blood gushes from my mouth together with my words. O God, I beseech thee, Give him the retribution which he deserves." Every instant he was uttering a new curse, while he, the rider, kept beating him and saying, "Run in this plain." Blows of the mace, and the rider swift as the wind. He therefore went on running, and now again falling on his face. He was full fed and sleepy and fatigued. His feet and face became covered with 100,000 wounds. Till nightfall he, the rider, drove him to and from, until vomiting caused by bile overtook him. All the things he had eaten, bad or good, came up from him. The snake shot forth from him along with what he had eaten. When he saw the snake outside of him, he fell on his knees before the beneficent man. As soon as he saw the horror of that black, ugly, big snake, those griefs departed from him. "Truly," said he, "you are the Gabriel of divine mercy, or you are God, for you are the Lord of bounty. Oh, blessed is the hour that you saw me. I was dead, you had given me new life. You were seeking me like mothers in search of their children. I was fleeing from you like asses. The ass flees from his master because of assiduity. His owner runs after him because of good nature. He seeks him, not on account of profit or loss, but in order that a wolf or other wild beast may not tear him. Oh, happy he that espies your face or suddenly lights up upon your abode. O you whom the pure spirit hath praised, how many foolish and idle words have I spoken to you? O Lord and Emperor and Amir, I spoke not, my folly spoke. Do not punish that offense. If I had known a tittle of this manner, how could I have spoken such foolish words? Contrary to what has been taught in recent centuries, the human is not an abandoned creature, and mysticism regards them as having an institutional and latent nature. One cannot see this nature because the snake is asleep inside. The snake is gone from the outside of the asleep, and the perceived good and evil of society and religions are all acquired values. The human considers the imposed good and evil of society and religion as absolute, but they may not have perceived the truth of the essence of good and evil. What bothers the human is assuming that this external and acquired identity as absolute and truthful, meanwhile ignoring the pure inner psyche. Mysticism believes that the pure psyche of the man is a thing of their nature, but with the advent of the snake, this psyche is lost and causes the human to have no proper knowledge of themselves. Most people think that everything is happening from the outside, but mysticism believes that everything is happening from the inside. The psyche needs to alert the human to this snake. We have nothing to do with societal values and deal with the individual as an independent human being, trying to demonstrate that community values are of contractual nature. If you are born into a Christian community, you will become a Christian, and if you are born into a communist community, you will become a communist. It means that you take your values from the community. The human psyche sometimes raises various issues to help them get rid of the snake and warns them of their inner purity. Sometimes we get stuck in traffic, get into an accident, or get sick. These movements are internal and happen from within. Sometimes the human psyche causes us to encounter certain human beings or tasks and gains experience to inform us about ourselves. Inner emotions may sometimes make us angry to deny them, but the same moves are in our favor. Just like the Amir who attempted to harass and slap the man to confront the snake. One should not expect the teacher and the master to always speak on the basis of the human self. If that is the case, that person is in deception. Many people may accompany you in a way that is pleasing to you or your inner snake, but this is the greatest hostility to human. I should have spoken much praise to you, O man of good qualities, if you had given me such a single hint as to the actual case. But you, keeping silence, showed perturbation and silently continued to beat me on the head. My head became dizzy, the wits flew out of my head, especially as this head has but little brain. Pardon, O man of goodly countenance and goodly behavior. Let pass that which I send in frenzy. He answered, If I had uttered a hint of it, your gall would instantly have turned into water. Had I told you the qualities of the snake, terror would have made you give up the ghost. Mustafa said, If I should tell aright the description of the enemy which is in your souls, The gallbladders even of courageous man would burst. He, such a one, would neither go his way nor care for any work. Here Rumi talks about the principle of being ignorant. The wheel of life revolves around the neglect and ignorance of the human. In the social life, we do not know many things, and it is fine, for it may prevent us from moving if we know everything. All human efforts are based on the show-off to prove that they are good people. If we believe that we are dying in spite of all our attempts, we might stop endeavoring. If the doctor says we will die in the next month, we may not do anything. If we have heard a certain joke many times, it is no longer funny to us. Do we know that we do not know everything? If we knew everything and the results were clear to us, there would be no more movement. Neither would remain to his heart endurance and supplication, nor to his body strength for fasting and ritual prayer. He would become good for nothing as a mouse before a cat. He would be distraught as a lamb before a wolf. No power to plan or move would remain in him. Therefore I tend to you without speaking. I am mute like Bubakar Rababi. I handle the iron like David. Humans often like to give this information to the self, while knowing too much can often lead to misery. The rise of technology in today's world is causing such disasters as pollution and new diseases. Rumi seeks to warn the human and nurture their abilities. In this story, the Amir is a symbol of the human psyche. In the Middle Ages, people supposed they had all the knowledge, and the world had become always the same. Yet, since Descartes, humans realized that they possessed high intelligence that made them govern of the laws of nature. Awareness of this fact led to the dramatic growth of post-medieval science. The human distance from the fact that the world is just our earth and that science is just what is already known. If Rumi speaks of abilities in humans that are difficult for us to understand, we should think of the past centuries when the possibility of airplanes flying over the ground might be ridiculed. Because there is no knowledge, the human and psychic abilities have been ignored. So that by my hand the seemingly impossible is brought to pass, and the wings are restored to the bird whose plumes were torn away. In mysticism, there is a lot to be said about the secrets. The secret in philosophy or science is meaningless, and the philosophers always seek to decode it through reasoning. The secret in mysticism does not mean that the universe does certain hidden practices no one should know. The secret arises when the curtains of human ignorance are torn and humans enter a new phase. In the Middle Ages, the Ptolemaic system was dominated, but today this system has been rejected. There are a lot of unknowns today, but maybe in the future we will find out how ignorant we have been. It is impossible for medieval people to figure out certain things. Sophistication of computers or planes was too much for medieval people to understand. These are the secrets, and today we can say with certainty that these secrets have been exposed. Perception of the mystical secrets is called intuition, and these should not be decoded for others. For it is not possible for humans to perceive in certain circumstances, and a wise human is better to keep silent about what is difficult to perceive. Mystical sessions are futile for those who have a scientific perspective and who believe that their needs can be met through science. Since there is the text, the hand of God is above their hands, the one has declared our hand to be his hand. Therefore mine is surely a long hand that has passed beyond the seventh heaven. My hand shows its cunning upon the sky. O teacher of the Quran, recite the moon hath been cleft asunder. The human psyche or the inner voice should not be underestimated. If there is a fire within the human, as well as a movement within them, one must know the source of love to be from elsewhere and wait for the stages of the Sufism. It is always with the human being, and one should not expect it to reach its intended destination quickly. Most people refuse to pay for mystical secrets. So are the becomes disappointed on the path of the Sufism. One should not assume oneself a loser. So are the ordinary people in our society who have been our greatest masters. The psyche helps the human to be in the right direction during the hard times or illness. Along the path, Nothing happens overnight, and the connection is not upon us. One should not judge a book by its cover and assume their life and reputation destroyed. What remains after us in the world and is eternal will be the psyche. Those who stand on the path of the human must be recognized by inner voice. The inner voice needs our attention to be heard. The psyche informs the human beings what the right path is. What others say is never the criterion, but it is the inner voice of the human being that must be taken into consideration. The majority's view is not the guarantee of truth. Humans are divided into two groups. Either they are blind and cannot see the light, or they can see the light, but they close their eyes and deny it. As long as the eye is open to the light, and there is a will to see, the rescue can be done, yet it is not possible to wake up one who pretends to be asleep. This characteristic, moreover, is on account of the weakness of men's understandings. How is it possible to explain the divine omnipotence to the weak? You will surely know when you lift your head from the sensuous sleep. 'Tis the end of my discourse, and God knows best what is right. If I had told you about the snake, you would have not been able to eat, nor would you have been capable of vomiting or cared to do so. I heard your abuse and went on with my work. I kept repeating under my lip, "O Lord, make it easy." I had not permission to speak of the cause, and I had not power to abandon you. From the grief in my heart I say continually, "Guide my people, verily they know not." The man that had been delivered from woe was falling on his knees and saying, "O thou who art my bliss, O my fortune and treasure, thou wilt get rewards from God, O noble one. This weakling has not the power to thank thee. God will say thanks to thee. O leader, I have not the lips and the chin and the voices for that." Of this fashion is the enmity of the wise. Their poison is gladness to the soul. The friendship of the fool is woe and perdition. Hear this tale as a parable. Our understanding of love and other themes is limited. Thus, understanding the truth requires some preparation. Rumi believes in this story that one day the human will wake up and become aware of the truth. The Amir is a symbol of the human psyche and is constantly giving awareness to the unaware person and tries to help them. The psyche does not leave this person alone. Trying to save them, however, the reason for this companionship cannot be explained until it enters another world and reaches understanding. Individuals play a role in different stages of our lives and help raise awareness. Thus, one's best friend is not necessarily the one who flatters them, but one who blames them, yet cares about their success.